Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. So this is episode 12 from Notes on Self-Development. And inshallah, we're going to be talking about not trying to validate ourselves and not trying to justify ourselves to people to anybody basically. But I mean, here I specify clowns, but it's really to anybody, inshallah. So what I said in this one, we cannot waste our time and lives justifying ourselves to clowns. If you know what you are doing is correct and you have sincerity in what you are doing, get to work and do not concern yourself with all the empty criticism and yippity yap from the people who are doing nothing with their lives. Losers always have to validate themselves by putting others down. A real successful person validates himself with the people he lifts up, the people he is a part of developing. And how truthful the statement, Allah musta'an. So let's start it. All right, so he said, well, we cannot waste our time and lives justifying ourselves as clowns. And a clown, I mean, obviously I'm not talking about an actual bozo the clown in a circus. I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about. The other way with all type individuals, the people that, that have this self-grandizement, self-importance, and they think that, that they're the ones that have, you have to pass their judgment to be considered anything of importance, and we don't have time for that. We're too busy trying to strive for the pleasure of Allah. We don't care about these clowns, and we're not striving because we're not in high school no more. We're not in elementary school, and all that peer pressure garbage that has no place in Islam. Has no place in Islam. The only thing that we encourage the people to do is obey Allah and His Messenger, and stay away from the disobedience of Allah and His Messenger. That's what we encourage the people to do. So our pressure, it comes from the pressure of what? Following what's made halal, what's made haram, and staying, doing the things that are halal and the obligations, and staying away from the haram. That's our pressure. Our pressure should never ever come from a bunch of people, whether it's in social media, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at school, whether it's just out in society or at the masjid or any other place. You should never feel, get like bend down to the pressure of any clown who thinks that and think that you have to validate yourself to anybody. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And not just that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but that you're giving the effort, that you're trying to, you're doing it to the best of your capabilities. You're giving maximum effort. What do you care about what this person says and that person says? Because the losers and the people that are not doing anything with their lives, they're always going to have commentary on everything that you're doing. That's their job. That's what they're here for, basically. It's just as a fitna for the people. And you can't give in to that. You can't allow their commentary to affect you. You can't allow their criticism to slow you down. And in fact, you should turn it into motivation. That's the best case scenario. So he said, if you know what you are doing is correct and you have sincerity in what you are doing, get to work and do not concern yourself with all the empty criticism and yippity yap from the people who are doing nothing with their lives. That's it. Focus on the things that you know that you need to get done. And who cares about these people? Who cares about them? Because like I said, the people who are doing nothing with their lives will always have commentary. They're always going to have something to say about people who are doing something. And you'll notice that the people who are doing things with their lives, they're not focused on you. And they're not talking about you. They're not concerned. They're too concerned about what they're doing. If you stop them and ask them for advice, they'll give you advice. They'll give you direction. They'll help you out. They'll, help you solve some problems that you're having, help you, navigate the path that you're on. But these clowns, they don't do any of that. They don't offer any solutions, or they don't offer any, basically like constructive criticism. Everything has to be destructive because they want you to be in the same situation that they're in. And the more you ignore them, the more you keep moving, the more they die, the more like they just get angrier and angrier. And so the biggest punishment that you could ever, the best way to punish them is to keep working and not respond to them. That destroys them so much. It destroys them so much. And then, where they get, the jealousy just starts to burn them up inside. And then Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he had a beautiful statement in regards to this in a poem that he wrote, where he said, this is the poem called Saketta wa qad khusimta qutulahum inna jawab li bab ash-sharri miftahu wa samtu an jahilin aw ahmaqin sharafun wa fihi aydan li sawn al-irdi islahu amma tara al-usta tukhsha wa hiya samita وَالْكَلْبُ يُخْسَى لَأَمْرِ وَهُوَ نَبَّاهُ. You probably, if anybody that follows me on Telegram, and I probably even mentioned this poem here. And so he said, قَالُوا سَكَتْ. They said to me, you were quiet, like you didn't respond. وَقَالَ خُصِمْتَ. And the person was arguing with you, but you didn't respond. قلت لهم, so I said to them, إن الجواب للباب شر مفتاحه. I said to them that the answer, like answering him, would be the key that opens up the door to evil, because he's an ignorant fool, and we don't respond to ignorant fools. So that's what he's saying. He said, if I had answered him, that would have been the key that opened up the door to all the evil. He said, وَصَمْتُ عَنْ جَاهِلٍ أَوْ أَحْمَقٍ شَرَفٌ. And here he said, وَصَمْت. A samt is like a sakut and kulli shay. Like you don't respond anything, nothing to them, nothing, not a word to them. So complete quietness with an ignorant person, or ahmaq. Ahmaq is a complete idiot. Ahmaq is like just a complete idiot, And he said to be quiet and not respond to an ignorant person or an idiot is sharaf, is nobility, is honor. Because you responding to them is you going down to their level. But you not responding is showing that this stuff is not, you're not allowing it to affect you. And this is honor for you. He said, وَفِيهِ أَيْضًا لِصَوْنِ الْعِرْضِ إِصْلَاحُ. And there's also a, maintenance or keeping a protection for your ird, your reputation. There's this protection and this fixing of your reputation, because when you respond to them, and you respond to a fool, you respond to an idiot, what do? Now you're on his level. Now he's going to respond to you in the way that they respond. And he might make you look stupid. It might cause you, ruin your reputation amongst the people, belittle you in front of the people. And it takes a long time to fix that. So he said, by not responding, you protect your honor, you protect your dignity, you protect your, you have this like type of nobility with you, but you also protect your reputation and, and who you are, so that this way that the people still have respect for you, because you didn't, go down to that type of level. He said, أَمَّا تَرَى الْأُسْدَ تُخْشَى وَهِيَ صَامِتَةٌ. He said, do you not see that the lions are feared even though they're quiet? وَالْكَلْبُ يُخْسَى لَأَمْرِ وَهُوَ نَبَّاهُ. And the dog, and the dog he's pelted with stones. And that's the word, from يُخْسَى. It means that he يُرْمَى عَلَيْهِ بِالْحَصَى الصَّغَارِ. When the dog barks, and he went, وَهُوَ نَبَّاهُ. That means like in a state where he's barking a lot. Because the dog makes all the noise, but somebody just throws a pebble at him and he flees. But the lion is quiet and everybody fears him. So, that's just the reality. It's like, we don't respond to ignorance, and we don't respond to criticism from fools. We'll respond to criticism from people that we deem are deserving. Like, for example, if I'm sitting with the sheikh and the sheikh criticizes me for something, that's something I take heed of. If a bigger student or somebody that I know is trying to, seek knowledge and be a good person, that's something that you have to take heed of. But the criticism of fools and clowns, of people that are just trying to put you down, you don't listen to that stuff. And I've seen so many people on social media. It's such a sad thing, because so many people will say how much of a good job they're doing. You're doing a great job. Mashallah, your video was very beneficial, but it's going to be that one person that says something bad. And that's what the person's going to focus on. He's going to focus on that one person. He's going to ignore all the good things that the people said about him and focus on that one. And that's destruction. You can't live your life like that. There's no way that you can ever have peace of mind. And that's the type of lifestyle. You're never going to please all the people. And I mentioned this just a few days ago in the class. And I mentioned it here because maybe the people that are listening to this here on Patreon, maybe they don't follow the live streams. But like I said, in the class, I said, alhamdulillah, that we were not created with the purpose of with the burden of pleasing the people. Because if we were created with the burden of pleasing the people, we'd all be going to hellfire. All of us will go to hell, because there's no way that we would be able to fulfill that if that was an obligation, we would never fulfill that obligation. To please the people, it's impossible. People aren't pleased with themselves. That's why they're out trying to look at, something else to take their attention off of themselves, because they themselves are not happy with their own lives. So they got to go mess up other people's lives just so that they can validate themselves or make themselves feel good. So how are you going to please people that aren't even happy in their own skin? So you can't please people like that. You can't please people who look in the mirror every day and they're not happy with what they see. Or, they think about, they look at their actions and they're not, people are not going to be pleased. So don't waste your life trying to do that. You go out and you do what you have to get done. You know your obligations. You're a grown person. You have a mature mindset. You know your responsibilities and you know the things that you have to do. Go do it and just keep it moving. So he said, I said, I keep saying he said, I said, whoever said, losers always have to validate themselves by putting others down. And that's the reality. We don't put people down. Losers put people down. A real successful person validates himself with the people he lifts up. Who are you raising up? Are you producing leaders or are you producing blind followers? What are you doing? Because if you're just producing blind followers, that means you're keeping the people down. You're keeping the people ignorant. You're keeping the people away from what they need to truly, how could I say this? To truly progress and develop and become better people. If you really want good for the people, you're raising up leaders. You're raising up people that are going to take your place and not just take your place, but even surpass you and carry on, because this is dawah is not ours. It's not our possession. What we're trying to do is, call into the Quran and the Sunnah. This is a blessing. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in that position to where, you are a part of the preservation of this, and you're calling the people to Tawheed and calling the people to Sunnah, that's a huge blessing. But it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. And it's not because of some special skills or favors or lineage or whatever. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's a favor from Allah. It's a blessing and it's a bounty from Allah. And if we don't do right with it, it gets taken away. وَاتَّأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَأَنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَأَنْ كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Ibrahim, He said, وَاتَّأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He announces it out to everybody. لَأَنْ شَكَرْتُمْ, if only you're grateful, you do right with the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you in that blessing. Put more barakah in the blessings that He already has and increase you more. You take the knowledge and you do right with the knowledge. Allah increases you in knowledge. You take, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you strength and you get up and you do righteous actions with that strength. It gives you money and you're using that money in the means and ways that are pleasing to Allah. And Allah increases you in barakah, increases you in your wealth. So He said, وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ. But if you act incorrectly, you act ungratefully with these blessings, لَنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that my punishment for these people is very severe. It's very severe. So, we have to act right with this. We don't, we try to build the people up because, again, we're trying to keep the dawah going. We're not doing this for our own legacy. And we're not doing this for some legacy from some crackhead that died how many years ago. We don't care about that. That's not our concern. Our concern is to keep the legacy of this deen alive, to keep this deen, to keep the people understanding the Quran and the Sunnah. We're not concerned about some person, this person, and that person. Oh, we got to keep the legacy of my brother alive or my father. Nah, man, forget that. We keep the legacy of this deen alive. And this is what it's about. It's not about my legacy, your legacy, anybody's legacy. This is about this deen and keeping this going and keeping the, and this is our pathway to Jannah. That's the way we need to look at it. So I said a real successful person validates himself with the people he lifts up. That's where you get value as a person by what? Seeing the value in other people and increasing that value and making the people see it. Where they see their own the value, they see the blessings and they know what to do with it and they do right with it. And then they start to become leaders and then they start giving dawah to the next people. And then it continues on. The people he is a part of developing. So he sees the validation in himself and the success in themselves by the people that he develops, the people that he brings closer to the obedience to Allah by the permission of Allah. That's what it's about. It's not about clowns and their criticism. It's not about none of that stuff. So don't respond to it. Don't let it affect you. Do what you got to do and just keep it moving. Wallahu musta'an wa ilahuna subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.